Hey guys, welcome back. This week we're going to be going over the good, the bad, the ugly, the pros and cons of the 4L60. So stay tuned. Alright guys, Ray with Project Dirty. This week we are going over the 4L60 transmission. Good, bad, otherwise. This is what you need to know and consider before you think you're going to put a 4L60 in your project car. So the 4L60E came out in 93. It came out originally for like the trucks, the vans, and SUVs, and then in 94 it came out in like the Corvettes, Firebirds, Camaros, any of the passenger cars, rear-wheel drive passenger cars like the Impala or the Caprice of the time. Which, for a daily driver 5.3, 4.8, or the old school 5.7 or 4.3 V6, the 4L60 is and was above and beyond its time for when it came out. It was reliable. It was low maintenance. It wasn't a real horsepower robbing transmission, in my opinion. So it worked really, really well until people tried to put a bunch of power to them. The 4L60E has some known issues and known trouble spots with that. Even on a stock vehicle, that if you don't maintain it, can show through. But when you really start adding power to these is when you started seeing the issue. The sun reaction shell is a big one with these. So what'll happen is it'll break around the hub, and it causes issues, and it does require a full rebuild. The 1.2 and 3.4 clutch packs and the shift solenoids are also not a very strong point for these transmissions. So with that, you got to kind of be realistic. Don't expect to put this in front of a pro-charged or supercharged LS1 or LS3 or something along those matters that's making 500-600 horse to the tire, and expect your 4L60 to survive any amount of time. The other big thing, and this is something that I feel like the Corvette guys deal with a little bit more than other cars, is temperature. Get an external transcooler on this if you want it to survive for any length of time in a performance application. For you C5 guys, I left some links down below for the transcooler that I run in my Corvette, as long with the fittings to make the install as simple as possible. So go ahead and check those out down below. All right, now that we got the shameless plug put into the video, so we can move on. As long as you maintain these transmissions, they're not going to give out on you. They're not going to fight you. They're not going to be realistic and respect them. They'll run, they'll last, they'll work for a long time. And that kind of brings us into the positive sides of it. The gear ratio for a 4-speed automatic is excellent. You're talking a 306 first, a 163 second, 1 to 1/3, and a 0.70. That's rounding up to the nearest hundredths. So for you guys out there that want to be like, oh no, it's a 0.69. Remember kids, no one likes a Karen. The gear ratio spread is actually, for a daily driver, fairly nice. It kind of drops you back into the factory engine's power band right away. This works out really well. You're not sluggish off the line, and you get overdrive. That being said, in the performance side of things, that 306 first gear will help you 60 foot or come out of a corner a lot harder than, say, comparing to like a power glide where you have a 182. You know, so it does have that performance aspect that you can adapt, but it wasn't designed for that. Going to the performance side of things, they're affordable. There's a huge aftermarket for them. There's multiple companies that will build these things for you, and you cannot complain about that. With that aftermarket comes, it needs to be said that these aren't like your standard turbo 350, turbo 400, power glide rebuilds. They are a little more finicky, and they're, I don't want to say specialized, but that's the term that comes to use. With that, there are companies that do specialize in these, whether it's like a Performabuilt or an RPM, any of those guys that can help you out and get something that's going to last with your application. Now, with that comes kind of the ugly, and to me, that's just being honest with yourself. These even built have horsepower limitations. If you're trying to put together a 4-digit drag car on a big tire and making massive amounts of torque, this probably isn't the option for you. And there are other options, whether that be a Turbo 400 or a Power Glide with a gear vendor's over/under drive. The other thing to pay attention to is weight. In a Corvette or an F-body, something of that nature, where you're upper 2,000, 2,900 to 3,100 pounds, not so much a deal. But when you start getting into like the trucks, to where these, a standard cab short box, you're right around that 4,000 pound mark on up. Like, for instance, a Tahoe is about 5,600 pounds. When that 4L60 did go out, which I feel like is more of maintenance issues from the previous owner, I decided, because of the weight, to put a 4L80 back into it. I have a camper I tow, car trailer, I do tow with it. So I wanted just that little extra insurance. And again, it was more me being honest with myself of what to expect out of it. So the main thing is, can it break? Absolutely. Can it survive? Absolutely. And be honest with yourself. So if you're trying to break it, or you're being obnoxious with it, it's going to break. If you take some precautionary steps, like a Corvette servo or a shift kit, fresh fluid, watch your temps, don't try to hook up to a house and pull it off its foundation, it's gonna live. Don't put it in your Pro Mod. Don't put it in your street car that makes 1,500 horse. It's not gonna like it. It's not gonna last long, and you're just gonna blame the transmission. I think the 4L60 is an awesome platform. I think for what it's designed to do and what it has the capabilities of handling, it's a very viable option for 95% of the people. So with that being said, don't fall into the hype. If you're willing to build a motor and build a street rod or a hot rod or a street car, consider it, but be honest with yourself. Is the biggest downfall of this is, what do I have to do to make this last, and how do I have to treat it? So with that, take some time to self-reflect on your transmission choices. We're out.